Okay, tell me when.
Okay, go for it.
All right. At the home of Al Shal Jawad Al Hashemi, Makud tries to convince the Barakados to let him and Abella go. They refuse, and in the resulting confusion of a fight, Declan rushes forward and grabs Abella and uses Dimension Door to get her to a building on a neighboring estate. While the Barakados launch themselves at their remaining virtues, while Shal al Hashemi flees into his garden room. Declan spots the Six Eyes agents that had been shadowing them and tells them to protect Abella as he dashes back toward the estate. The Barakados focus on preventing Makud from reaching his hammer, slowing him and entrapping him in a wall of force. Brandon manages to break their concentration with her whirling dervish sword attacks, and thankfully, Abrashmina's curse of Bane curse keeps the Barakados from devastating them all too quickly. Declan runs into Al Hashemi as he runs through the garden towards the fray, the rogue bashing him on the head and tying him up before continuing his run back to his friends. Um, they manage to hold out until Declan returns and Makud manages to retrieve his, oh, that's his sword, but it should be hammer. Then the tides of the fight turn, if only for a brief moment, until the Barakados show why they're considered to be so deadly. Abrashmina and Bryn both go unconscious from Fatih's blade, and Makud summons a Minotaur golem from his ball while Declan makes his way across the room to heal Abrashmina so that she can use her magic to heal Bryn. Uh, Makud battles it out with Sumaya while his elemental and Bryn finish off Fatih. Declan subdues Dahir and knocking him out. Abrashmina blights Sumaya, weakening her as Makud slams down his hammer and breaks the Barakados. The group does not have a lot of time before eventually guards will come calling, and Shay whispers to Bren, telling the bard to manipulate the Shawl's memories. She explains her plan, and Abrashmina tells Declan that they need to eliminate the remaining Barakados and executes him herself. He doesn't argue and just leaves to escort Abella to the butcher's shop, leaving the others to do the work. Makud eats the paper words, and Bryn prepares her spell. She tells the Shawl the story of a demonic creature being summoned while he was talking with Makud. The Barakados all died defending him, and they helped protect him. And they, the Virtues, helped protect him. The Shell seems to believe every word and even offers them a job to replace his Barakados, but we turn him down and quickly leave, encountering a group of guards who try to get them to stay and answer questions, but one of them covers for us, and so and flashing a six-eye signal to us as he shuffles the others off to deal with Hashemi. The Virtues regroup at the butcher's shop. Abella is shell-shocked by the events of the evening, and Sharat agrees to help disappear Abella. Abrashmina explains what Bryn had done to Sharat and the others. The leader of the Six Eyes is impressed and doesn't seem to think that anyone will question the Shawl's story, so hopefully nothing will come of it. Bryn jokes that she should have made the Shawl remember rewarding us or eating one of the Barakados' sword, and Declan gets more and more upset by the joking and stomps off. Makud tries to talk with Abella, but she is too shocked to really converse with him, and he is upset that she seems so distant, and it's for him to see the change in her from the person that he knew. Brashmina comforts him, telling that Abella just needs to rest and process, and the former slave shakes herself out of it long enough to thank him, and he tells her that he has been the best Makud that he can be for her. On the way back to the Mirage, Declan and Makud talk. Declan seems despondent about the outcome of what happened that day, and it seems to be taking it hard. And he tells Makud that Makud should focus on learning his letters so that he cannot be tricked by words again. Makud reminds him that Declan is promised to help him, so that will be no problem, which only seems to make Declan more upset. And that is where we left off.
Very well. So everyone,
Unless I forgot anything important.
I think
Did
so.
I forget anything important?
I would just say the characterization of stomping was not what I imagined, but okay. Like throws his fist down by his side and like stomps out the door. No.
Yes. Okay. I will agree to that.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're fine. He did
So-
make a snarky comment on his way out though to Bryn.
I did.
So, everyone, at varying times, arrives back at the Mirage. Is everyone going immediately to sleep? Does anyone have anything they'd like to do?
What time of day is it?
It's I
Beginning
suppose
of the
it's not
evening,
time.
you
Yeah,
said?
so it's about evening time. Yeah,
Okay.
dinner time.
So once Declan gets back, my understanding was he and Makud were walking ahead, Bryn and Abishmi behind. Once we get back, Declan, who's manning the bar and the door?
Shugor is on the door. Smear is at the bar.
I'll tell Shugor. The Mirage is closed for the evening. See that no one disturbs us. And he'll go to the bar. And who's the bartender again? Sorry?
Smear.
And Smear. I'll ask Smear to give us the room.
So Shugor like gives you a grunt and a nod, and like kind of steps outside to turn around the sign, and then is gonna like sit out there for a bit just to turn away anyone who tries to come by. Smear will kind of give you like a slightly nervous look, open his mouth to say something, and then close it and just jump down, go and head for some other shady bar.
Okay. And then Declan's just going to sit at the bar and wait for the others to come back.
Okay. So, the others arrive. All of you kind of find yourselves in the Mirage. The room's empty.
So Declan is sitting with his back to the door, and he looks slumped over. His posture is not his usual rigid kind of stiffness. And when you enter, he'll turn and look and sort of make very intense eye contact with Bryn.
Do you have any idea why we're closed for the evening?
I asked that we closed our doors for at least long enough for us to have a conversation.
Is everything okay?
No, it's not. Declan will kind of like straighten himself and put his hands behind his back and look at Bryn and say, "You once called me a good man, and it meant something to me. You've called me your friend, and I was beginning to think that we were. But now I know what these words are worth to you, and what a fool I was to believe them." He'll pause for a moment, then say, "It was you that killed the men at the Scum Weasel."
I mean, yes.
I'm glad that you did not deny it again. You deceived me. Consciously. And led me astray.
I don't know that they necessarily did, but...
Did you not? When I asked if anyone had seen what had happened.
You knew that he was looking for the killers. Perhaps it was a secondary I forget the word, a secondary worry than the men who disappeared the bodies. Like, you know that it was something that Declan wanted to know.
I asked you all directly. She lied not only to me, but to all of us.
The deed was done. Why'd complicate things? No one weeps for these men. Or did you forget that... I'm sorry, did you forget that they tried to kill us? That their bosses tried to kill us?
I told you not a day before, that I would not be party to murder. We reconstituted ourselves, recommitted ourselves to our path and to trust in one another. And not 24 hours later did you go behind my back to murder men to whom I had promised mercy. You made a mockery of me and what I stand for. With your deceit, with your anger, and your violence. Tell me, Bryn, why would I fight beside someone who holds me in such low regard?
Do you really think that those men wouldn't turn us into the preacher, wouldn't sell out what we were about to do?
I am not arguing your tactics.
Then what are you arguing? If it's the lie, I'm sorry. I thought it was the deed was done.
Are you sorry? I do not believe you. You had any opportunity to explain yourself to me, to confront me in that moment, and tell
This
me
is
why you believed those men should die.
this is
But you didn't.
exactly what I wanted to avoid. I'm sorry. I prefer not to have a bunch of enemies at our back, ready to sell us out.
That is something that is not for you to decide for the rest of us. If you had made this argument there in the moment, I would have agreed with you that we could not let our intentions be known. We had just escaped from that prison, and they all thought we were incapacitated or dead. So the secret of us being alive and free is something that should have been kept, but you should not have kept it a secret from the rest of us. I would have backed you had you said it.
I know you've a good heart, Bryn. You would not be in a shower if not for the love you bear your mother, as you would not be here now if not for loyalty. You are brave and skilled, but you are also violent, reckless, and deceitful. And the cause is too great to risk on unworthy allies.
I do this one act to spare you, to spare us, to spare our mission, and you call me unworthy?
Declan's face is fairly impassive. He doesn't look angry so much as pained. You have. We all make our choices. I do not blame you. But we owe each other trust and honesty. And I cannot be an executioner, and I cannot continue to show mercy to people only to have my allies cut their throats moments later. I must be able to live with myself. And I am not holding you responsible for my choices. But I cannot go down this path, the path of the assassin, the blade in the dark.
I've done things that I'm not proud of. I'm not even going to pretend that that's not what happened. I've acted impulsively. Those men were slavers.
That man was a bartender. Is everyone who serves a slave or a drink in a shah worthy of death?
You know that bar was Kolo's personal hideout. I mean, are you forgetting the fact that that's the man and probably those sailors are the people that brought my mother here?
And my sister, most likely.
Those men threw us in a pit to die? I mean, do you I could
What
find
disturbs
out.
me, Bryn, is that you had the power to look into their minds and see the truth, but you didn't.
I saw enough. I saw what I needed to see. Listen, I'm sorry. that I lied to you. In whatever way I thought I was trying to spare you some things. You are a good man. But sometimes the hard things need to be done. And I was just trying to spare you that. Spare all of you that.
It is not a weight that is something that you should be the only one that has to shoulder.
We
As I-
set terms, all four of us, the night before, for how we would operate. After a punishing defeat, how we would proceed as a team. And within one day, you had violated every clause that I had put down for my participation.
I believe I crawled out of that hole and said no more mercy.
Declan, you did say that you were going to stop trying to control us.
I did. And I also
But-
said that I would not be made party to murder.
I
You
will.
weren't-
One moment, please. Abrashmina kind of like puts a hand on Bryn's shoulder to kind of calm her down. I believe that there is a balance that needs to be made, and that is that sometimes there needs to be mercy, and sometimes there needs to be punishment, or there is no recourse for mercy. And I think that this is something that, as a group, we should all be making this decision together. There should not be.
I
We
am
should
not here to draw new terms.
These are not new terms. These are the terms we had.
I cannot. As looking dead at Bryn, I cannot trust you. You have lied to me, and you have disrespected everything I stand for.
You asked me to put everything at risk by letting those men live. If you actually think that they wouldn't have gone scurrying to the preacher the minute we left, you're a fool.
If
They
I'm
would've-
left with a choice between
on.
my principles on the one hand and victory on the other, I would rather lose. There is a reason that I wear a mask. It is not just to protect myself and those I care for. It is so that I will never be in a position where I must kill.
And yet the preacher had your sister.
He did. And thanks to you all, she has returned. I am not trying to tell you how you must conduct yourself. I'm trying to tell you that I can go no further along the path that you have set.
I've shown myself capable of mercy and restraint.
You have.
We didn't have a cave full of dead cultists. Madar lived, one of his apostles. Don't paint me as a cold-blooded, merciless killer. That's not who I am. I'm just someone who's willing to do what it takes to see my family safe, to see the job done.
I promised that I would not try to guide your actions, and it's not my intention. You are your own. You are accountable only to yourself, not to me. But I must live with who I am as well. And there is no point in showing mercy if my allies can simply kill those to whom I've shown it shortly after.
I have no problem with mercy, but only to those that deserve it.
And you are the judge of those who deserve it.
Their actions are.
You did not know those men's actions. You killed them because you thought it would protect our mission, and perhaps you were right, but perhaps you were wrong. I know where I fall on that issue. And so do you. Therefore, we are at an impasse.
If that's how you see it. I don't know. Listen, I mean, it was a hard time. Like I said, I've done a lot of things that I'm not happy about. And a lot of things I'm not proud about. And a lot of things that make me not a very good person. But I'll never apologize for doing what was necessary to save my mother.
Do not need your apology.
I didn't think you did. So what do you want? You want my assurances? You've already said you don't trust me. I don't understand. I don't know what you want out of this.
I wanted to hear what you had to say. And I have.
I hope it was enlightening.
I'm ashamed to say that I think my time as a part of the virtues has come to an end.
You are leaving? You
I will
would
not leave a show.
abandon the rest of us?
I cannot make you understand. That much is clear. None of you truly understand me or my methods.
That is very presumptuous of you and insulting.
Well, I do not mean to give insult or to offend you.
It is not logical that you would react this way. I do not think. Yes, she lied. But you made a promise to me and to Makud,
I did.
and you are willing to abandon that? What is your principles about breaking an oath, a promise?
The first oath I swore was that I would not take a life. I have only killed once before. It's a long time ago. And Declan will sit down at one of the tables. There was a man named Othet. He was one of the many father figures of my life. After my father, Michael, died of a plague that swept through Tathoin, I was an orphan. For years, I lived alone. Actually, that's not accurate. Months, I lived alone on the streets. And Othet saved me. Gave me food and shelter, a place to live. And he put me to work, along with a gang of other children, as a thief, as a spy. And he cared for us, and he loved us in his way. But he also did things to us that no person, let alone a child, should be forced to endure. He engendered both love and hatred from us. And when the day came, when our little gang of thieves was broken up and he was arrested, and I was adopted, I committed myself to becoming someone who could avenge children like me. I trained for years to become the man that I am. And when Othert was released from prison, he was the first that I tracked down. I kidnapped him and kept him in a warehouse. I cut open his living body and experimented on him, interrogated him, my heart filled with darkness and hatred. For a week, I kept him alive in this state. And by the end, he did not beg me for mercy, but for my forgiveness. And I broke. I saw what I had become. A creature of hatred, on the path to evil, greater evil even than he had committed. And when I killed him, it was for mercy. This is what my oaths keep at bay. This is what is at stake. I would bear the shame of abandoning you forever. But I would rather that than break that first oath. And if I continue with you, there will be more death. We will disagree on how it should be applied, and there is no difference in who swings the blade. If it is my hand or yours.
It is not possible for anyone to guarantee that we would never have to kill anyone again.
It is not what I've requested.
That is exactly what you have said.
No.
You have decided already that we are going to murder someone again.
Can you tell me there will never be an unconscious throat cut again?
The only one that we have had are those men at the Scumweasel.
Declan looks quizzically at you.
Do you disagree?
Not an hour ago, I watched you cut a man's throat.
Oh, well, yeah, shit. That's... You would have preferred to leave the Barakados alive to...
We should not have been in there in the first place. I don't know how that whole thing went to hell, but before combat ensued, why did you not leave?
We were attempting to. They would not let us speak to Makut.
And they would not let me leave.
I could have gotten you out.
Perhaps we did not think wisely, but in the moment it felt like we were losing one of our own to slavery again. Perhaps we acted rashly.
I am not trying to make you feel judged.
I mean,
but this will continue, and it is not a path that I can walk.
You know this for certain. You are a servant of Istus who can see her weave and know all of the threads of fate. I heard most clear from my God that you were meant to come with us. And for you to abandon that. And Abrahmina just kind of like shakes her head like she doesn't really like, perhaps you do not understand why I can be so certain that you are meant to be with us. But there's something that I know. And she like kind of like lays her hand over her chest. We were brought together for a reason. We are a group of, we are like the poles, yes? There is the extremes, and it is where we meet and find balance that make this group stronger. Without you, we will be less. And it is not because of your skills or your abilities. It is because of these principles that you have. They are not.
Bryn will kind of shrug her shoulders. We're family. Family's ugly and messy and doesn't always get along and doesn't always see eye to eye. But we've always got each other's back, and we're always trying to make each other better.
You are part of our whole. You are one of the virtues, and that is not. It is not something that should be taken lightly. Out of all of the days for you to follow a man to the Bakar, it happened to be the day that a man came out of the ground with a sandworm, and we all were brought together. I know you do not believe in the gods, but if you cannot see the coincidence or the divine providence in some of that,
I have seen the power of your God. I know that there are hands at work in what we do. And one of the great gifts of my time in Ashar has been that revelation.
so how can you
Knowledge that
be so certain that what you are meant for is not to help us in be better?
when I spoke to the priestess of Istus, I asked her that very question. And she told me to follow my heart. That would be the correct path.
You said that it would pain your heart to leave us and to break your promise. I understand that you do not wish to be party to murder, but you cannot be certain that we will be forced into situations that we have been forced into in the past. You will be certain of your heartbreak if you leave.
But I will be able to live with myself.
But you are condemning us for something that has not occurred yet.
I do not condemn you.
But you are. You are calling us murderers. You are saying that it will happen again, that you are certain that it will happen again, and you cannot be party to it. What is that if not calling us murderers?
I asked you if you could promise that there would never again be a cutthroat. You did not answer.
I did get a bit sidetracked, yes. I can promise that it will not be from my hand. Self-defense only. Yes? This is something that you are acceptable with.
It is.
I've only ever raised my blade to someone that's raised their blade to me first. I don't kill innocents.
In those, we have found ourselves in situations where people have asked for the end of our blade. That was painful for you, yes? To accept that some people were asking for it as well?
I wanted to help. I really did.
Who is Aberspina speaking to?
Uh,
Uh, I was speaking to Declan, but it appears that Bren was having a reaction to it, so
Yeah.
that is perfectly fine. Yes.
Okay, no, I just wasn't sure.
So
if I was
yeah,
supposed to answer.
so it's just
There's
kind
no
of
eye
like
contact here, so
yeah. Like Abrashmina will kind of like turn to Bryn, and like the hand that's on her shoulder will kind of like wrap further around. Like, do not blame yourself for Yuki.
I do not wish to condemn you. If this is how you feel, then I am sorry.
I do not think that what we have built and what we have made and what we could make is worth deciding the events of the future before they come. It is a lot to throw away.
Have you anything to say, Makud?
Makud is like reclining against a wall, just trying to keep up. You do not like every life that is taken. And you mark Bryn with a black mark for what she has taken. But you don't speak a lot about what we've achieved. Your sister and the 60, 70, 80 people we pulled out of that cave because we murdered few, we saved many. Those people who worked at that bar, if you do business, if slaving happens in front of you and you do nothing to stop it, you are one of them.
Makud,
If he
not
was
an
not
hour ago.
employed by Kolo, he gave them safe haven.
Makud, not an hour ago, you nearly worked for a slaver voluntarily.
Lies. Those words were lies. What that man said, lies. And I did it to free someone close to me. You, and he like points at you, went through hell for your sister, and he's getting louder and he throws his arm up towards the ceiling. She went through hell for her mother. I did not have to kill anyone. And I used words to come
You
to a
did.
conclusion that I would save the person I loved with no bloodshed. You should have been fucking proud of me. Instead, there is this.
Makud, I understand. And I am proud of you. I did not mean to insult you. All I mean to say is that every person makes their choices in who they serve for reasons that might be inscrutable to us.
And
And
when
a
they
man
make
who's
their choice to die, when they make their choice to raise a weapon, to fight, round after round, like that sad woman I told you about, I tried to talk to her while we pulverized each other, and she was completely fine where she laid. That is what she was trained for, what she was paid for. She would not wish freedom. She would not wish to save the world, to save people more unfortunate than her. She wished to die. And I killed her.
I do not dispute
That is
this.
the end of it. We are stronger together, like Mina says. If you were there, if you were... Maybe things would have gone differently. But you have your ways, and we have ours. That is not exactly the way that I wanted that to go. But at least we did not kill everyone there. Maybe even change someone's mind.
Well, Makud, this is precisely my point. Our ways are different.
But that does not mean that they are not stronger together. You are the one with the words. I am the one with the massive fucking hammer. There is room in this world for both of those. There is some lunatic who rides a sandworm through the desert, slaughtering my people, and the Medigen and the Suvma, and he has made no qualms about attacking a Shah. Are you going to talk to him? Give him a chance? Or will he be too far gone? When is someone too far gone? I have
I do-
followed your steps of mercy. More people are alive now because of you than they would have been. But not everyone can be saved. And
I
by
understand,
killing
Mr.
some,
McCoot.
you save many.
I understand. And I, again, am not trying to dispute this point. There are two factors for me. I cannot be a part of a group of executioners. I cannot. If people die because they raise arms against us, so be it. But the second point, and he looks back to Bryn finally, is that even though I know that you are good at your core, your reasons for your deceit, they do not satisfy. And I do not trust that they will not happen again. You could have told me at any point. You say you wish to spare me. So am I a child? You wish to spare yourself.
I mean, not really. If that were the case, I wouldn't have even told you now. We could have danced around this forever. I'm still not even 100% sure how you found out it was me to begin with.
A man saw you. And I did not believe you are a fool that you would have, fool enough to have continued this deception when you knew you were caught.
I don't.
Out of character, meta conversation, he was told it was a slim figure and it was either, so that would make it either Bryn or Abrashmina, but Abrashmina was standing over, what's his face the entire time.
Yeah.
think
Because,
And I mean, just like, if you think about it narratively in that moment, like, we all left together. We stand outside and talk for a minute. Bryn disappears, but nobody notices. But that doesn't mean that, like, once he has the information that during this time window someone went back and murdered them, that he wouldn't realize, oh, Bryn wasn't there.
yeah. Because it
We
couldn't have been the Makud. So,
Right.
We had left and were walking back to the butcher shop, I think, and she peeled
Mhm.
off and came back, and she beat your stealth at the time and came back again.
Yep.
I mean,
Um,
either way, I don't think it's ridiculous to think that.
But also, you've
that you
been.
figured it out.
Who cleaned them up? Like, we don't. Someone else
Yeah,
could
no,
have
sure.
murdered
Yeah.
them. But also, that is a particular threat.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The point still stands. Bryn doesn't know how he found out, other than someone saw her apparently.
By chance, as we were walking to the Charles mansion, the man who saw us and ran was the one who identified you. I was not sure that it was you until you confessed, but
so you caught him. Didn't you say something about him getting away?
I let him go.
I believe Makud is pointing out that you lied to us.
At that moment, I was unsure what Bryn's intentions were, what might have happened. And if I had confronted this issue at that moment, we likely would not have been able to rescue Abella at that time, which, in retrospect, might have been for the best, as we could have gone back and done things more smartly.
I was going to say, Abrashmina kind of chuckles, though she knows it's a bit gallows humor, a bit. If you had said something, then we would not have found ourselves in the situation that we found ourselves in. We would have come back here to discuss things, and then we could have gone in with a more time. It was chance that we were seen at the gate. It was chance that one of them recognized Makud as Amarutu.
Indeed. But we can only act on the moment, on the information we have in the moment.
Exactly. Like you could have gotten Nabella out when you met her in the basement, but you did not know what was going on up above.
I did not wish to endanger either you or anyone else by stealing away a slave in the middle of the day.
Mm. Indeed.
Even though it was the right thing.
I believed I could return later that evening, which is what I told her. That I would be back within the week, long after Amarutu and his two friends had left, beyond suspicion. I could simply step in and secret her away.
Unfortunately, that's not how things went down.
No.
It's always nice to be able to look at things and think what you would have done differently. But sometimes we just have to live with the consequences of our actions.
That's quite right.
That said Declan. There is not much that I can do to repair the broken trust that has formed because of these events. But I can promise that there will be. My hands will not be the one to end a life that is not currently arrayed against us or raised against us. Does that satisfy?
I trust you, Abrishmina. You have never deceived me. And I have faith, even if your religion is not my own, in the conviction of your strength and your faith.
If it is, that said, if it is of any benefit to your conscience, I believe that we were brought together for a reason, all four of us. And I know that it may be difficult for you to trust Bryn after what has happened, and I understand. And Bryn, I understand why you went back and killed that man. I understand both sides. This is perhaps a luxury that I have, being able to see things this way, but I understand the reasonings behind both of you, what drives both of you. I understand and I see it. And if you do not have faith in each other, perhaps you could have faith in the faith that I have in both of you. You are both good people. You are both trying to be the best people that you can be. And some of us are still struggling in finding that person within. I do not wish to see you go, Declan. But if you feel you have to, I will understand that too.
That person that went back to the scum weasel and killed those people, it feels like a lifetime ago. It really does. I can't promise that we'll always see eye to eye, or that we won't have any more creative differences and discussions, but those differences, that's what makes this better. You're not right all the time. I'm not right all the time. But we both need that. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I didn't tell you when I had the chance. And yeah, I can play the nobility card and say that it's to spare you. But I mean, I I don't regret it. I don't regret it. I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing.
And would do it again.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I don't feel like shit for having to do it. So maybe it was a little bit for me. Just put that behind me and not be that person anymore. And I'm sorry if that makes me selfish or that makes me bad. I just, I want to forget. I want to forget that. I want to forget everything that happened to me, everything that I saw. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You're a better person than me. And I don't know, just you don't have to go. We can make this work. We really can.
I don't doubt that. But you would do what you did again. And there's no anger in Declan's face. He's probing you. He's asking.
The hiding,
The hiding?
the hiding.
No, going back and killing those guys.
That's what, like, Declan has already said that he is okay with us killing people who, like, that we're defending ourselves against. Like, what he has an issue with is hiding it from the
Well,
rest of us.
executions, right?
Yeah.
And
So
and lies.
yeah,
that's
so
what
yeah.
it's about.
So it's like and hiding it, or that's what Abrashmina is like prompting Bryn
Sure.
to say, like, the whole, like, yeah, I would kill them again, but
Well, I mean,
trying to soften that a little bit.
I know, I know. Those guys, yeah. But other guys, I don't know. I really don't know. I won't hide it. I'll be honest about it. If we're standing and we're trying to decide what happens, I, I won't hide it. I'll make my case, make my point. I won't. I still stand by that. I don't kill innocent people.
At the
I
very
mean,
least, we could, if we are in one of those predicaments, we could try and take them prisoner the way you had wanted to do with the preacher, Declan. Would that satisfy?
You were right when you told me that was the wrong choice. What I wanted to do to the preacher was what I had done to Otha all those years ago. And I thought if I did it dispassionately, I could learn what I learned, which was a great deal. But still be in the right. But you were right to tell me otherwise. I don't know how to go forward and do the things that have been tasked to us and still keep my soul.
Declan, there's power in mercy. I'm learning that. I'm relearning that. But there's also power in forgiveness. I get it. You don't trust me. And if you stay, I'll have to earn it back. I will. I know that. But it's up to you, man. It really is. All I can do is just say, I'm sorry for whatever that means.
For what it's worth, I understand why you did what you did. And you do have my forgiveness.
And I know why you're mad. I really do.
The look on his face is, I'm not mad, just disappointed. um, I will require some time.
I was going to suggest that. It wasn't broken in a day and it won't be fixed in a day, and I had someone try to put a lot of holes in me today, and could use a rest. In fact, I'm pretty sure I ended up on the floor, unconscious for a few. There's a half a second I don't remember.
Yeah, you went down. As did Mina.
Thanks, big guy, for pointing out my flaws to me.
It was more than a few seconds, if I
It's
am to judge by.
how much time you're actually missing.
Yes, it was.
It is not a flaw if you are still alive. Something to learn from.
Yeah,
But
don't
I
get
had my
stabbed.
friend look after you, so they did not finish you off. Otherwise, we could not have this conversation.
Yeah, that's right. We went down and there was no golem, and then we wake up and then there's a golem. We
Mhm.
definitely lost some time.
Giant marble minotaur standing
Yeah, it
over
was
you.
two rounds. Yeah. A lot happened in those 12 seconds.
A lot can happen in 6 seconds.
Sorry, slap happy. Serious face. Serious face.
So we can all agree we need to rest in case some of us are concussed.
How about Shmina like reaches back to check her head? Like comes back, fingers are a little damp.
I mean, Makud's only on 16 hit points in a minute. He still looks fucking woeful, but
Mina's on 15.
yeah.
I don't think Declan took a hit.
That's what happens when you get to skip 4 rounds of combat.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it was a good fight.
it was. So to have like a meta conversation that goes over the, the in-game conversation, like I've talked about, with Rob and with some of you guys, like swapping Declan out or retiring Declan for a little while.
No.
So I mean, he's just I love Declan like from an observational point of view. Like he's a good character, but he's difficult to play, and it's not always fun for me to like
be a hard ass.
Yeah, like he's not really built for a typical D&D campaign, and that's on me, right? I made that choice. So like the things that I'm saying in Declan's in character are really how he feels, like he's Batman in the D&D group. It's gonna be really hard to play with Batman like telling you not to kill people all the time because D&D is lots of killing. So I don't know quite what I want to do. That was a good in-game moment, and like that did soften me on it a little bit, but I still actually don't know what I want to do with the character, So
yeah. So I have two
Oh,
things
Rob's
to say.
still here. Good. I thought you,
I am.
your laptop had died.
I went and had a bath and
Yeah.
made some dinner.
Did you run home to get your charger while we
No.
were having
So
that
that's the
conversation?
first thing I'm going to say is my laptop is going to die in the next like half an hour to an hour. So
Sure, really?
So could we take like a half-hour break while I drive down there?
Sure.
But the other thing, based on the
Yeah.
character stuff, while I remember it, is I think that was like a really poignant moment, and I think, like I said, like Declan is a very interesting character and brings an interesting dynamic. With regards to like swapping out characters and stuff, I know when you were sort of mentioning it to me, Dylan, I was really against the idea, just because we've sort of built this as a very character focused game, and so to change that out kind of weakens the story. So I don't know how I feel about bringing in someone new.
Okay.
With regards to like Declan leaving, he could definitely take a break and come back if that's something you wanted to do. We could have, further discussion. I mean, anything can happen. But
Yeah, so it's two pronged, right? There's the in character stuff, and then there's the meta, right?
Yeah.
In character, maybe Declan can figure it out. Like, I can always make a justification for why he stays. But for the meta, like, if it's producing anxiety for me, like extracurricularly, I don't necessarily want to keep doing that.
yeah,
No,
no,
and
I,
it does.
I totally understand it.
So I mean, if you are really committed to not having a new character in, I could just bow out for the remainder of the campaign, and that would be sad. But I mean, no hard feelings. I think it would, if I chose to bring in a new character, I think it would make sense to like maybe sit out a couple games, and then maybe bring in a new character at some point that makes sense. But yeah, but again, if not, and that's just the end of the campaign for me. That's okay. But like playing this character and having this like constant like angst over morality and stuff like that. It actually, because I very much inhabit the character, like it bleeds out into my life. Like I stay up at night worrying about how Declan feels.
See, I love that. Like Elishon, I had so many sleepless nights with Elishon, and I loved it.
I totally get it. I'm gonna have to run because I don't want it to crash
That's fine.
before. So I'll be back in like half an
Yeah.
hour, 20 minutes.
Okay.
You guys can talk amongst yourselves or
Sure.
whatever. Go get a drink. I'll see you in a bit.
Go, Rob, go.
Fly like the wind, clip clop, like the wind.
But no, it was a good scene.
Uh,
You got feelings, Dan?
yeah. Feeling number one that you always have to keep in mind. I don't want you to leave.
Okay.
Just saying. Initially, that is an axiom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the grief from staying up late at night from Declan's morality decisions. So I mean, take it with a pinch of salt, something. But I very much like Declan in this group and in this world, and I think, like Rob made the point about the story, that it would be stronger with him than without. And I think it would be tricky to make another character. I'm not saying impossible. I'm not saying it couldn't, but I think it would have to be pretty well worked to slide into the story that's going on. I'm not saying you couldn't do that, but just so just thinking primarily with like Declan in, like Declan is an interesting and complicated character, and I personally find it fascinating that he thinks like torturing people for information that he's done several times is somehow better than killing people. And I would like to see that kind of play out.
So
And
Declan,
maybe
yeah, I've wrestled with that personally too. Like, he entered the story like very convinced that his way was the right way, and we went through a whole arc where that was hugely challenged. And so he's wrestling with that, and it's so, but still, like every step of the way so far for Declan has been a compromise from where he started. Even like going along with this party in the first place, huge compromise.
but that,
Yeah.
well, you've
But
got to,
that's a choice I have to make for the game itself, obviously.
yeah,
But,
as you
like,
have mentioned, like, well, you make a character for you, but you also make it for the group, for the
Of course.
game. And Declan is towing that line. And when you make an extreme character with extreme decisions and this kind of Batman ethos of do not kill, I mean, Batman has been challenged, and Batman has, depending on where you read and when, has killed. But there have been causes for him to do things that are below his
I mean, when you write a story for 60 plus years, lots of shit happens.
75 plus now. But yes,
Yeah.
lots of shit does happen. But like people experiment with that all the time about Batman's limits, like how far he will go
Sure.
to compromise. And it's interesting when you come into a D&D game, bearing in mind this is a world somewhat like very unlike our own, where life does not equate to the same value as we have now. Like people run no gladiatoral like death matches and things. I'm not saying like it's been established that they are kind of like main events or not so common, but like Makuda's had to kill because people have been put in front of him to
Sure.
be killed. And I love that. I do love that you came in with a relatively pacifist-ish character, and are tied up with a gladiator who has killed lots in his past, but is
Mhm.
kind of listening to you, and then a bard who made people's lives happy has to completely flip reverse her life to save her mum and go into killing people, which I'm sure she's never done before necessarily. It's a really interesting people come, and then you've got a cleric of death. Like there's a
Right.
lot of interesting ways and perspectives on this solution, and I like that there is some pullback um, from Declan. It does make it tough on you, making him so like morally absolute.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you
I
have
brought
had
that
an
up to
arc, and I
Rob.
know you have
Yeah.
compromised and softened up.
Yeah,
But
exactly. But I brought it up to Rob in like the first like 2 sessions. I was like, okay, maybe this guy isn't a great fit. And there was a lot of like, no, just keep playing him. And I understand how he fits into the story, and it is compelling. Like I said, it's just difficult.
mhm.
You know,
Um,
so
Yeah, but I love Declan in this group. I love what he's bringing, and because like part of me um is kind of against the new character or whatever, because I love the dynamic that Declan is bringing to the group. I have a hard time finding, like, coming up with like my own kind of idea of how to slip someone in that will be as interesting
sure.
as Declan is to the group, because like the whole like introduce a new character thing, and like you're wanting to make it easier on yourself and not have to like butt heads with everybody as much, but unfortunately that's kind of where because then it's like the TV show where like the butting heads is like the like fascinating part of
Well, yeah, it's
like
drama.
that's
That's
yeah, it's drama. That's like what you're watching it, and then like then that dynamic shifts, and then like it's why like there's all those jokes or me like tropes that like whenever like they have like the romantic not to say that there's any kind of romantic things about like our dynamic, but like with the group,
I mean, you did hit on Declan like the first session.
not really, but apparently anybody I talk to that has a penis, people think I'm flirting with. Do people think I'm flirting with Makud when I lay a hand on his chest to heal him? Oh, he's such a big, strong, beefy boy. No.
I don't know what you're into, but
We
She
were
could
starting
be
to
into
wonder.
monsters. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is like, there's that trope where you have like, the snarky badass and like, the straight-laced whatever, and they like butt heads for seasons, and then like, they get together and then it's not interesting anymore and the show fails because that dynamic shifted or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's why I don't want Declan to leave, because
Sure.
I can't imagine
but
a
characters
character.
also
Yeah.
leave stories all the time.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like for whatever reason, whether there's a conflict and someone is like is written out of the story, or
Yeah.
somebody dies.
I
Like
think
sure,
more stories are written out than they are written in, though, which is
Yeah.
like Rob said, it's not a problem for him to leave. It's a problem finding someone to replace him.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will say, just like with the trajectory of the campaign, like if we can hold together, there is. I think it's going to go on a much more heroic, typical kind of D&D arc. After the pot hydra, we're going to go in the desert for a long time, find an oracle, and then go fight some like crazy man and his worms.
Yeah.
You won't
Mhm.
have unconscious or not unconscious bartenders,
Yeah.
because he technically would not know if the bartender is uncovered or not, recovered or not when Bryn slit the throat. I know he knew, saw
Wait,
it,
what?
Lena,
Yeah,
but
they were tied up and like left
sure.
alive. I think that's what he means. Is like like with Tahir, like he had been subdued,
Subdued.
and yeah,
But yeah,
like
we're going on a more heroic thing where maybe he won't bring such grief to you because we won't be politicizing and
mhm,
subterfuging as
Mm.
much.
Yeah, maybe.
So it might relax
mhm.
a
By then
little.
you'll love us too much to leave.
Well, I love all of you guys immensely, but yeah.
Sorry, I needed to have the crazy.
Sorry, I had to
Um,
laugh like a fiend.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, again, it was a good scene, and like it is compelling to want to stick it out and try it out, and I don't know, that'd be where I wind up with it. But I do have other ideas for characters, that I think would fit pretty well. I mean, I would have to work that out with Rob and with you guys to some degree, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
feel
I think
very
so.
unsure in this
I
moment.
think if someone like if we needed a rogue in the group kind of thing, which we possibly do, like I don't know what your ideas are, but like you've got the Six Eyes, which has a lot of different characters in, which
Mm-hmm.
would give you an in. I was even thinking like possibly playing Ethan would be interesting because it's like Declan and has
Yeah.
like Declan teaching her, but she's also
So
slightly
she's like
more
a
okay
first
with
level rogue.
killing. Well, I don't know. You could fudge the levels a little bit, maybe, but maybe she got empowered by the cult she was a part of. But
Sure.
I mean, Maya's
um,
my backup character if Aborchmina ever dies, so.
I'm- I mean, with Declan training her, maybe she power leveled.
Maybe she was not as honest with Declan as to what her skills were.
Yeah.
Everybody's lying to Declan all the time.
I know,
Listen,
right?
when you like tell him the truth all the time, he just make everything a burden. He's just like, listen, dude, it's for your own good.
There you go.
Maybe
Just as we like put the pillow.
Go to sleep.
It's okay. I'll be right. I'm gonna go. While Rob is gone, I'm gonna go. I'll be right back.
yeah, I'll be
I'm
right
gonna
back.
grab a drink.
Okay. No, I have other character ideas, but I do take your meaning. Like, trying to ham fist another character in there doesn't necessarily. It's not something you want to do. You still there, Dan? You left. I'm talking to myself.
I've returned.
Hi.
Hey. So is one of your suggestions Remy? No,
You hear me?
I can now.
Oh, okay.
I
Thought I
missed
said
if you
hello. I wasn't
replied
sure.
to. Missed
I'm
if you
back.
replied to my question. Okay, hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, did you ask? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. No. So I asked you a
Okay.
question and then you didn't reply, and then you were like,
Oh,
"I'm
I didn't hear.
back,"
I
and I'm
didn't
like,
hear the
"Oh,
question
okay."
at all. Sorry.
No, I said, "Is one of the character suggestions Remy?" Because
Because you'd be down for that.
I mean, Remy and Makud, is that not like the best?
That'd be quite a combo.
Quite a combo against these
No,
damn worms.
I have a couple different characters in mind. I sent one version of one of them to Rob, and I actually completely revamped it since then, so it's totally different. But no, either
Okay.
way, I'd be running a 3-level multi-class. But one of them is a rogue barbarian fighter, and one of them is a sorcerer warlock paladin. So the roguish one, the concept is that either way they both have the sailor background, so they're both kind of like. I wanted whoever comes in to be someone for all the tension that Declan cultivated would be kind of a balm, right? Like a release of that tension a little bit.
Okay.
Because that's what I feel, like, and it's a bomb for
Sure.
me. So either way I go with it, somebody who has like a point of relation with every other character. So the one that I'm leaning most towards is the charisma build, the sorcerer paladin warlock, and the concept is that he's sort of like a mystic, sort of like built around like certain desert cultures and things like that. So sort of like a Bedouin mixed with a Sufi, mixed with like a Sikh, which is different area of the world. But those sorts of aesthetic, religious types. But somebody who's like a disciple of like this ancient sage, like who's like a dragon who lives on another plane of existence or whatever. And that's like his warlock patron, and like so the idea is to sort of like blend all these three classes into something that feels like one class. And somebody who is who still has sort of the vibe of a paladin. He still has a code of conduct, but it's a personal code.
Okay.
And someone who has who is a spiritual person, so he can connect with Ebrishmina. He fights with a great big sword and is an athletic person, so he's got that sort of like physical connection to Makud. And who is also like someone who is well traveled and knows lots of songs and histories and things like that, and can connect with Bryn a little bit. And in either case, that would kind of be what I would be trying to do with the character.
Sure. I think the connection points are key to the story, because there's all this stuff that is going to happen that Rob has planned, and all these grand schemes.
Totally, and I mean, I appreciate that. Like, you don't want to like have a character come in that feels like ham-fisted, like kind of stuck in there and feels off, off message. So whatever it is that they bring in, like I haven't fleshed out the details so much because I want to be able to work it in a way that makes sense. But I'm feeling less sure that that's what I want to do than I was at the start of this session. So
less sure, right? Did I tell you this story about Michael Walker and his racist elf?
Who?
There's a guy in. There was a guy in the OSG group that I used to play with Todor, if you're familiar.
I think I've played with Michael once or twice.
Okay, Mike Walker.
There was right.
Michael Walker, yeah. Ran by Todor. There was like a Fandelver campaign, and I joined in that after some amount of sessions. And unbeknownst to me, so I came in playing Morgoth, who is like my super counter orc, like orc monk, who's basically not at all like an orc, and is like this, or what people normally would perceive. Like he is, although he is a monk, he's also like, and could beat the shit out of people, and massive. Like he's like gentle and charitable and generous and all of that. And unbeknownst to me, that Michael Walker was playing like an elf ranger whose family had been murdered by orcs. So I was like his preferred enemy, and through that campaign, though we didn't really finish it, but through quite a few sessions, after he like saw how my character behaves and looked after people and saved his life and like fought 7 or 8 people at the same time and killed a dragon with his fists while riding it and that kind of thing. Like we went on this really interesting character arc, because I just came in with a character and they went, yeah, that's fine. He went from having this hatred of orcs for what they'd done to his family to discover that not all
Hashtag
orcs.
not all orcs.
Exactly. I like that. And his character, that was that's like my defining moment of my playing with Michael Walker, is that he had this ranger go on this arc over like a dozen sessions or more, that like his racism had changed. He had discovered a new aspect of them, and I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, totally. And that's kind of what I would like to go for in some way. Like if I was going to bring in a new character, to have it be a boon to the story, in whatever way I can concoct. Rob and I can concoct.
Sure.
But we'll see.
I'm just saying that I think Declan can be that boon.
Sure.
But I know him less well than you. I'd hope he would be that boon.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky, right? Like, I guess Bryn has apologized, right? And I think Declan believed her, that she was genuinely remorseful, at least for the deception part of it. It's so the way I was thinking about it in my head is like, if you went into a business venture, right, and you know, you say it was like loosely defined at the beginning, and like there was sort of like your mission
Sure.
and what you were all about was sort of like everybody's sort of on a different page, but you go with it because you kind of have faith in these people, and then it like gets off to a really bumpy start, you know, and you and you kind of recommit to the things under new terms, and then you discover that one of your business partners has like broken those terms and lied to you about it, like, you know,
No, I
yeah,
understand. I understand
you
that
know,
betrayal of trust.
it's like it's hard to imagine why he would stick around, you know, but you know, he does, like Bryn says, you know, everyone we're family, and like Declan has never quite seen it that way, you know, like he's only now starting to like care about everybody in a friendly way,
Sure.
right? So
It does tend to focus on the negative. Like he's very business and very pragmatic, and he tends to focus on the negative things more than the positive. Like they've achieved a lot
mm,
fighting side by side. I
that's
feel
very true, very
as the
true.
group, and if he could become more aware of that, I think it would be easier for him. I'm not sure. Not sure he's there yet or whatever, but I
I mean,
try to like
he did
Makut
say,
like,
you know, at the outset that he was proud of the things. I don't forget exactly, you know, that they had done, but
but it seems to play small fiddle compared to the the acting out.